This is a production of Florida State University.
Hello and welcome to another edition of FSU Headlines, coming to you from our studio here on the campus of Florida State University. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Mark Vaughn. We start today with a look at the Fall 2020 plan and what it means for the Florida State University community. In these uncertain and trying times, Florida State University has made it its main priority to protect the health and safety of its students, faculty, and staff.
So here are a few things I really want our community to know about. A, we want to reopen, that's for sure. No doubt about it. Everybody's excited about it. B, we want to have as many face-to-face classes as we can. No question about that. We're working hard on managing the number of square feet we have and the social distancing issues and all of those things to make sure we have as many face-to-face classes as possible. That's probably going to take a little while longer to really get to in terms of exactly knowing where we'll be and how many we'll have. You know, and C, I think the fact is that it's going to take a lot of effort on everybody's part, faculty, students, staff, and a lot of individual responsibility by all of those groups. We know the virus is still very contagious, and we know that we're going to have to do a lot of mitigation work to make sure that everybody's safe. And the last thing, I guess, in terms of safety, that is the underlying thing that we want to make sure happens. I want as many people to be safe as possible, and we'll build our plan, and we built our plan around the safety of all of our students, our faculty, and our staff. And with that, I hope we can make a lot of progress when we get started in the end of August.
One of the main leaders in creating a plan for students to continue to learn, professors to continue to teach, and researchers to continue to innovate is FSU Provost Sally McCrory.
I believe it's more important than it has ever been for everybody to really take personal responsibility for taking care of themselves and the people that they are around in the class or in other kinds of activities on campus. Unless everybody does that, we're going to have a very difficult time being able to do the things that we want to do for our students, like offer with safe distancing, face-to-face classes, like offer them opportunities for different kinds of student organizations to be able to meet virtually or together in a safe way. But everybody has to step up. Everybody has to take personal responsibility. That's the only way FSU is going to get through this fall in the way that we really want to.
President Thrasher says FSU faculty, staff, and administrators consulted with state and local authorities and health experts to develop the plan for the fall. The plan follows the guidelines in the State University System of Florida's blueprint for reopening campuses.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the Board of Governors and our own board for their great work in approving our plans. It took a lot of work and a lot of energy on behalf of our staff, our faculty, our students, everybody involved in it.
The goal of all of this work is simple: for Florida State University to continue to provide a world-class education and stay healthy.
Flexibility is the key word. I used to say resilience was the key word, but for now I think flexibility is even more important. We all have to deal with things that change daily. What we thought 10 days ago is very different from what we know now. And in another 10 days, that's likely to change again. So flexibility is incredibly important. And by being flexible and willing to change as necessary and taking personal responsibility, that also builds resilience. And that's another characteristic we like our students to have.
It's going to be important for them to understand, the students to understand, that mitigation is important. Masks are going to be important. Hand washing is going to be important. Staying away from large crowds and 6 feet is always going to be important. So those are fundamental things. I think if we can get through this semester with those adjustments, I think it'll be possible, hopefully, for us in the spring to get back to some real normalcy, not just what we're trying to establish for this semester.
You can read the plan online at fall2020.fsu.edu. Well, Florida State University recently opened a new on-campus COVID-19 testing site. The drive-through and walk-through testing site for faculty and staff, and eventually students, is a crucial step in ensuring a safe return to campus this fall. Watch this.
Well, there are a lot of building blocks for the kids to come back, and so this is one of the building blocks for our staff, our faculty, others right now to be tested so we can have some baseline for where we are, so that when the kids do come back and we have a lot more to test, we'll be in a good position. Our first and foremost goal is to make this a safe place, as safe as we can, given the circumstances we're living under today. But I think this helps us put us in a good position to bring our students back, have our faculty teach, and that we have a safe environment for everybody. That's really what we want, not only for us, but for our community also. And we're working with a lot of our community leaders to do the same thing, and they're responding very favorably.
Testing and the knowledge you get from the test is really the power we need to ensure safe reopening for faculty and staff. So we're happy to process the test for Florida State University, provide test kits, and ensure the results are back timely so the university can open safely.
Well, first, it's really important that colleges resume face-to-face learning. And a very important part of this, first, is understanding what we can do to control the spread of COVID-19. Wear a mask, practice social distancing, and then also, if you have symptoms or have any concerns at all, get tested. So it's terrific that FSU has this testing site that all students and faculty can take advantage of.
Well, coming up next on FSU Headlines, despite a changing world, researchers at Florida State are still hard at work innovating and making breakthroughs in their work. We'll learn more about how sea turtles house thousands of other creatures and find out more about how hurricanes form when FSU Headlines returns in just a moment.
At Florida State University, we're proving that students from all walks of life can achieve at the highest levels. We're proving that intellect, creativity, service, and daring matter. We're proving the next generation can do more than dream of a better world. They can make it happen. We are Florida State University.
When you buy a Florida State University license plate,
you're not just showing your school spirit.
You're supporting students like us.
In the lab,
in the classroom,
and in the library.
Putting this tag on your vehicle helps Florida State students achieve their dreams. So show your pride. Purchase an FSU license plate today.
Welcome back to FSU Headlines, and now for a look at some of that research that we talked about before the break. A new Florida State University study reveals a world of life on the backs of loggerhead sea turtles. You heard that right. And it's more abundant and diverse than scientists ever knew. An international team led by Florida State University researchers recently found that diverse communities of tiny organisms live on the shells of loggerhead sea turtles. Just one turtle had more than 146,000 individual organisms on its shell.
It's a surprise. It's a rather big surprise that we find so much and of such diversity. If we'd had 20 species and, a couple of thousand, that would have, I think, lied more within our expectations. But the, average of 34,000 nearly and over 100,000 or 140,000 maximum organisms on one turtle, and at least 111 species of nematodes in this case, and probably quite a large number more if we would study the other meiofauna groups in detail. That's the big surprise. But it does come to show that the closer you look at something and in the more detail you look at something, the more you're going to find.
The researchers spent a summer at Florida's St. George Island to sample the shells of those loggerhead turtles that migrated there to lay their eggs.
Our results are quite exciting, and we know of no other study to date that has identified so many microorganisms in the shells of sea turtles. So this really suggests that turtles are hotspots for organism abundance and biodiversity, and that loggerhead turtles in particular play a key role in transporting those species.
The abundance of microscopic life far exceeded expectations. The analysis revealed more than double the number of organisms than previously observed by scientists. This discovery raises critical questions about the ecology of the loggerhead sea turtle, and it raises the stakes for their conservation. Anyone living in the Southeast, and especially here in Florida, knows June 1st means it's hurricane season. But what else do we know about hurricanes and how they actually form? Some FSU researchers are trying to figure that out. A new Florida State University study is helping scientists better understand the process that leads to these sometimes devastating storms. You have probably seen the satellite images that show a hurricane developing. Thick white clouds clumping together, arms spinning around a central eye as it heads for the coast. Meteorologists still have plenty of questions about how they develop. This FSU research has discovered that even the smallest changes in the atmospheric conditions could trigger a hurricane. These critical new insights could help meteorologists predict and prepare for these storms in the future.
It's becoming ever more important in our field that we connect with, say, emergency managers and, the general population, and really all other sort of local officials to advise them on, what they can expect, how they should prepare, what sorts of impacts are going to be heading their way. And, a more robust understanding of how tropical cyclones actually form, how they get there, can help us to better forecast their location, their track, their intensity. Really, it goes kind of down the line and helps us to communicate that, more in advance, as well as more efficiently and eloquently to the public that really ever so needs it.
In other research news, a new Florida State University study may help scientists answer some of the most perplexing questions surrounding Alzheimer's disease, an incurable and progressive illness affecting millions of families around the world.
What we were kind of looking at is memory reactivation during sleep. That's basically when you're experiencing the world throughout your day, you start to lay down memories, and those memories are reactivated when you're sleeping. And so we were trying to look at that in a mouse model of Alzheimer's disease, specifically looking at within cortex, as well as how cortex communicated with hippocampus. And the hippocampus is really important for actually laying down the memories. It's pretty well implicated in a variety of memory tests, including spatial navigation, which was the paradigm we used for this.
The FSU researchers look for the underlying causes of memory decline in Alzheimer's by measuring brain waves in their research models of the disease. These brain scans show that the way two parts of the brain interact during sleep may cause memory decline in Alzheimer's patients.
What we were surprised by and what was unexpected was that luckily we weren't recording just from one brain region. We were looking at a couple different parts of the brain, two that are important for memory, cortex and hippocampus that Danielle mentioned. And we found that it wasn't the patterns within those regions necessarily, but it was more the way those two parts of the brain interacted, which has also been thought to be important for forming memories. And again, while you're sleeping, this is what's happening. Those two parts of the brain weren't interacting right while the animals were sleeping after they did a task that they were trying to learn. One that Danielle also mentioned involves spatial navigation, which we picked not by accident, but because that's one of the first things you start having trouble with when you develop Alzheimer's disease. You start getting lost in new surroundings.
The FSU researchers hope the study's findings open up new doors in the understanding and treatment of this debilitating disease.
This is a devastating disease that impacts a lot of people. It impacts not only the people who develop Alzheimer's, but also their families. And so it's really important to be able to look and see what's actually going wrong, in the hopes that potentially we could use that information to find a cure or help mitigate symptoms or just treat the symptoms. It's also important because, like Aaron alluded to earlier, you can start to see and learn some things about how the brain actually works more generally, which is also helpful for being able to look at other diseases and see, okay, if this is how the brain's supposed to work, how does it go wrong in Alzheimer's? That might also reflect how it goes wrong in some other sort of neurodegenerative disorder.
Well, this year has certainly caused many of us an increasing amount of stress, and there's an urgent need to find new ways to improve mental health during these times. And that's exactly what a group of Florida State University researchers have been working on. They hope to prove the unique psychological benefits of art therapy. Florida State University researchers are developing a first-of-its-kind online art therapy program, and it's already showing promising results for relieving stress and anxiety in college students. Now the team has earned a $99,000 grant from the National Endowment of the Arts to build upon that research and better understand the stress-reducing capabilities of mindfulness-based art therapy.
What we are hoping to be able to show or demonstrate is that it is through this actual intervention, which provides the mindfulness techniques alongside the art making, that students are given more of a guide in how to decrease their stress and anxiety, and also how to become more aware of why they're feeling this way, and also develop those independent skills about what they can do about it to alleviate some of those stresses and anxieties.
The idea is, how can we create something that universities can offer their students that might be a little bit more accessible and feasible than just the traditional in-house university counseling center. So what this is that we've been working on, and we're in the developmental phase right now, but we're hoping by the end of the year we'll have a working and functioning app. But basically it'd be taking that intervention that we've been working on, collecting evidence on, and offering it to students in a way that is a supplemental mental health resource offered by universities.
Well, coming up next on FSU Headlines, an ambitious student reporter earns triple awards from the Florida Association of Broadcast Journalists. We'll show you one of her winning stories when FSU Headlines returns in just a moment. Welcome back. A Florida State University College of Communication and Information student won big at the Florida Association of Broadcast Journalists College Awards, and the honor was well-deserved. Alexandra Windling is a graduate student in the college and an accomplished young reporter. She recently won 3 first-place awards, including a first-place win for her story named Busted Flush, which tells the story of how the 1969-1970 FSU basketball team earned the nickname with 4 African-American starters on the team.
Much like the rock and roll at the Woodstock Music Festival, the 1969 men's basketball team had an infectious, riveting energy that Florida State students did not want to miss.
They liked our style. It was upbeat, it was aggressive, and everybody had a really good time. We rocking and rolling.
Our team, we were rugged. We were a rugged team.
It's sort of like reckless abandon. Throw caution to the wind. And we went out there, we just, let's go.
Headed under Coach Hugh Durham, the Seminoles were a predominantly black basketball team playing in the Deep South during a time of social turmoil. But they overcame their cultural differences and their opponents by embracing the power of teamwork.
We knew we were pretty good. And I think the big game that proved that was when we beat Jacksonville here.
The defeat of the Dolphins proved the Seminoles were a high-caliber team, as Jacksonville ended up playing in the national championship. And like most successful teams, it all began with defense.
I think that our style of play was very important because, see, we're going to press you the whole game. If you're not in shape, you can't play with us. We played a 1-2-1-1.
The 1-2-1-1 full court press is known as one of the most aggressive and exhausting defensive schemes in basketball. By forcing inbound balls to the corners and trapping them, the defense is able to prevent opponents from easily breaking the zone and executing offensive plays.
It was the bedrock of our success. We had good scores, and we had, we knew how to play on that end, but we pushed the pace.
With 4 black players and Kentucky Redhead Dave Cowens, the starting lineup acquired the nickname the Busted Flush. But no one can forget the impact the relief off the bench had on this Florida State team.
You had a guy like Roland Garrett. He ended up playing in the pros. He didn't get the start.
When Elsie came in the game, he created the type of synergy that we needed.
Maybe the best outside shooter we had was Randy Cable, and he didn't get the start.
John Burke, great defender, can probably defend anybody 1 through 5.
Despite having an 11-2 record headed into conference play, their momentum and speed could not outrun the heartbreaking news yet to come.
As I remember it, before practice, Coach Durham would have us all sit in the bleachers and he would talk to us about whatever news needed to be talked about. And we're sitting in the bleachers and he comes in, and that's when that news was delivered as a team, as a unit in the gymnasium.
On January 9th, 1970, Florida State would be put on a team probation for an individual act, restricting them from competing for a national title.
I just think it was like, you know, you in a room with a bunch of balloons and you start sticking pins in them. And everybody is just basically, you know, held their heads down in disappointment.
I was really hurt. I was angry.
Many players felt their punishment was unjust, given the isolated nature of the infraction.
So you've got the NCAA, you also have a committee on infractions, and that group often puts penalties on the schools. And so it's not unusual to have 1 or 2 violations that maybe by a coach committed or a couple of the student athletes, and the entire team gets punished for it. It's still true today.
While the whims of fate gave them reason to falter, they chose to flourish instead, because losing themselves and their morals would have been far worse than losing a game.
As a group, what was pretty cool is that we just sort of, okay, this happened, let's move on. Nothing we can do about it. We're not going to let that define us. You know, it didn't change the spirit that we had.
Nobody wanted to quit on the other person. Nobody wanted to quit on the team. If they had it, they could have transferred out or tried to leave and say they're not going to play anymore. So I think that we were just that close as a team. I think we were that mature as a team.
Their allegiance to Florida State was unwavering. And although they didn't get the chance to compete for a national title, they found relationships and reached accomplishments of even greater value, creating bonds that lasted a lifetime.
Florida State is basically home. I came down here when I was a kid. I was 17 years old and met my wife here.
I grew up as a person because I stayed at Florida State. Had I went someplace else, maybe I wouldn't have grown up to be the man I became.
The story of the busted flush shows that life is not a matter of holding good cards, and finding success in a poor hand is free will. I'm Alexandra Wendling for Seminole Sports Magazine.
Physicians and nurses are playing a huge role in our community's health during these crucial times. But for much of history, that role was exclusive to men. And FSU film professor's new documentary shares the stories of the first women doctors who paved the way for so many others. Valerie Schoon is a faculty member and producer in Florida State University's film school, and her newest documentary, named Daring Women Doctors, Physicians in the 19th Century, reflects on the early days of women physicians and the fortitude they displayed then and now.
I think one of the things that attracts me to history is discovering the hidden histories, you know, and to recognize that these women were inspiring. They're not famous, but they forged a path for themselves. And I'm amazed at their ability to sort of navigate a somewhat hostile world for women to work. And I'm inspired when I read their stories.
The film is airing on PBS for the entire month of July. Professor Schoon is excited to share the stories of these pioneering women who overcame the odds in pursuit of medical educations. The film was completed through an affiliation with Professor Schoon's film company, True Visions, Inc., the FSU College of Motion Picture Arts Torchlight Center Studios, and the Center for the Advancement of Human Rights. The project also received funding and support from women physicians in the Tallahassee community and a grant from Harvard University. Well, wearing a face mask is becoming a new normal in today's world. From administrators to student athletes, Florida State wants everyone to do their part to help us all stay healthy.
I'm Leonard Hamilton.
I'm Joe Shea. I'm Mark Riley.
I'm Susan Fiorito.
I'm Sally McRoy.
I'm John Thrasher, president of Florida State University.
I'm wearing my mask.
I'm wearing my mask.
I'm wearing my mask.
I'm wearing my mask, and you should too.
I'm wearing my mask, and you should too. Let's do your part to keep FSU healthy.
And stay healthy, FSU.
Do your part
and stay healthy, FSU.
Do your part and stay healthy, FSU.
Do your part and be healthy. Go FSU.
Go Noles.
I'm Brooke Niles, the youth volleyball coach. I'm wearing my mask, and I hope you will too.
Hey FSU, I'm Harrison Prieto, and I'm wearing a mask to keep my community safe.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Moynihan, and I'm a senior on the FSU swim and dive team. It is so important that we all do our part and wear masks. It saves lives.
I'm Mark Krikorian, and I'm wearing my mask. I hope you will too.
I'm Coach Brooke Wyckoff with the Florida State women's basketball team. I'm doing my part to help fight against COVID-19 by wearing my mask, and you should too.
Hi, I'm Mark Ziegler in the School of Communication. I'm wearing my mask, and I hope you will too. Please do your part to help and stay healthy, FSU.
Hello, I'm Elle Johnson of the Florida State golf team. I'm wearing my mask, and I hope you will too.
Hello everyone, this is Malik Osborne, and I just want to say I'm wearing my mask, and I hope you guys are too.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Sumner on the Florida State women's golf team. I've been wearing my mask, and you should be wearing yours too. I hope everyone is staying safe during these difficult times. Go Noles.
I'm John Proctor, the head diving coach at Florida State University. I've got my mask on, and I hope you'll do the same. Go Noles.
So please remember social distancing, wearing your face mask, and practicing safe habits so that we all stay healthy, FSU. Thanks everyone for joining us here on FSU Headlines for this special July 2020 edition. You can always keep up with FSU News on news.fsu.edu. There you'll find articles, video, radio stories, a little bit of everything telling you all about Florida State. For everyone here at Florida State University, I'm Mark Vaughn. Thanks for joining us. Stay safe, healthy, and happy. We'll see you again soon.